Are you lonesome tonight? Do you miss me tonight? Are you sorry we drifted apart? Does your man...
All right, welcome back to Significant Lovers.
We're back.
We are your hosts. My name is Mel.
I'm Kel.
And
we're cousins.
We're cousins and best friends.
Oh. And I'm drinking wine.
I'm drinking a margarita.
Oh, I didn't know. Is it the canned one?
Yes.
Be careful, Mel. Be careful.
I'm only having one. Guys, these canned margaritas taste like juice. And
yeah, those are dangerous.
I had two, 2 weekends ago. And I thought I was I literally... Oh my god, I didn't want to tell you this, but I didn't end up doing it, but they have this service where you can pay $200 for a nurse to come to your apartment and hook you up to an IV.
Oh, and yeah, I've heard of that.
I literally scheduled that because I was I cannot drink water, I am going to die. But then they called me and said, oh, we're too busy. Would you like to do it another day? I'm like, no.
Another day?
Hopefully I don't need you another day. So
you didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I persevered, and I finally was able to drink water and Gatorade, and I survived. But it was tough.
Good.
It was tough there for a while.
Wow. I've heard that works, but...
yeah,
it's a bit extreme.
It would have been embarrassing. It would have been a low point, but...
Well, I'm so excited to be talking to you, Mel, and to everybody listening.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. This is a public episode, and this is a big episode.
A big episode.
Big.
This is probably one of the most famous breakups of all time.
This is a flagship episode.
That's a good way to describe it.
This is an anchor.
Yes.
It's a ship.
Oh my god,
it
wait.
Is a ship.
I forgot to come up with my 3 words. I'm going to have to improvise.
You have to do it on the spot.
Well,
first of all, who are we covering today, Mel?
We are covering Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt.
Wow.
Huge.
The one and only.
Mm-hmm. But I guess I'm going to spoil it now just so you guys know. The next episode, which is going to be on our Patreon, is going to cover the relationship of Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Woo!
So, in a way, these 2 episodes are kind of like a crossover event because the timelines for both of them will be brought up. So, I'm going to talk a lot about Angelina Jolie in this episode, and Jennifer Aniston and Brad Pitt's, their relationship will be continued in the next one as well. So, if you want me to talk about, the 2 of them, how they are now, that's going to be in the next episode.
I'm so excited. Oh my gosh. So yeah, Mel's doing these episodes. I'm just chilling. Listening. Was that hard to research, the 2 relationships?
You know what? I feel in my research, they both just, it's hard to separate the 2. So I felt
I see.
There was no way for me to not kind of have them back to back.
Yeah. I feel like that's really cool. We've never done that before. This back to back 2 episodes. But that happens sometimes, love triangles.
Yeah.
Leaving someone for someone else. I feel like I first imagined that we would spread out his relationships, but I'm so into this that we're doing it back to back.
It feels necessary. And so basically this episode will take more of a Jennifer Aniston perspective, and the next one will take more of a Angelina perspective.
Wow.
And cool. Brad is just along for the ride, so...
We have covered Brad before. We did a Brad and Gwyneth Paltrow episode back about I don't remember what number it was. I think it was in November or October. But so, if you want to hear about before this,
Yeah, and that's a really good one, too. Like, that was a really big couple for its time. And that's a free episode, I'm pretty sure. You already covered... Oh, wait. The 3 words I would use to describe them. I would say...
Yes.
Flirty.
Oh. Flirty, 30, and thriving.
Yes. Flirty. Oh, very public.
Okay.
And idolized.
That's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? Even though I feel like I know a lot about this couple, I really don't. I don't know anything.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt.
Yeah, like I've seen pictures of them. I've seen the tabloids at the supermarket and stuff, but I don't really know anything actually about their timeline in their relationship.
Me neither, because I felt like as soon as they were on my radar, they had already broken up.
Yeah.
Like, I remember watching the movie Rumor Has It, you know, that movie.
Yeah.
With all the drama.
Yeah,
where she sleeps with a man who might potentially be her father.
Yes.
But with my family, when I was like, I must have been in 4th grade or something, and my mom says, you know what, she's actually very pretty. And I was like, why?
What?
Like, of course she's pretty. I don't know why my mom had to say it like that, but I think it was because she was pitted against Angelina Jolie. And not that I think one is more beautiful than the other, but I feel like is this weird for me to say? I feel like Jennifer Aniston has a more like approachable beauty to her, whereas Angelina Jolie has a more like mythical, like ethereal, unattainable beauty to her. Does that make sense?
I feel like the press described Jennifer Aniston, at least my perception, as being more like girl next door.
Yeah.
Normal. You know, like there was a girl in your high school like this. Like she's just a cool chick and she's pretty, but she's not like, I don't know, Jessica Rabbit or something.
She's like the prom
Angelina
queen.
Jolie, yeah, whereas Angelina Jolie is like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like,
Angelina Jolie like might cast a spell on you or something.
Yeah. It's very intimidating.
I hope that's not like offensive for me to say, but but it's like it's a different kind of beauty, and I feel like Jennifer Aniston, I mean, she's like probably one of the most beautiful people in the whole world, but it's like she feels more like a normal person, I guess. I don't know.
It is crazy how people compared them so much, and then you have people doing the opposite where they're like, no, Jennifer's more beautiful. And I prefer that type. And,
yeah, I mean,
but I would like to get deeper than that, you know?
I feel like it kind of played on people's fears of you could be as beautiful as Jennifer Aniston and a man could still find somebody who's like, not, I don't want to say more beautiful because I don't think like one is more beautiful than the other, but like more unattainable in a way. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like Angelina Jolie, I'll get into it in her episode. Okay. Yeah. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say.
I do.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of what it is about, like trying to describe in words what it is about Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
But we'll get
like even her name, like it's like Jennifer and like Angelina. Like it's like there's something more like ethereal about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so who is Jennifer Aniston? We haven't covered her before.
We haven't. I have a feeling this won't be our last episode about her.
Yeah, I really like her. I think she's a very interesting person. She was born February 11th, 1969 in Los Angeles. And she's a bit of a Nepo baby. Her father, John, he was a Greek actor, best known for being on Days of Our Lives. And her mom, Nancy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, her mom, Nancy, was also an actress and a model. And she had an older half-brother, John, from her mom's side. And Jen's family actually lived in Greece when she was in kindergarten and then moved to New York City when she was 6. And they lived on the Upper West Side, and she attended the Fiorello H. LaGuardia High School of Music and Arts and Performing Arts.
What?
Very interesting, because she also says that her family was dirt poor growing up, but I wonder if like they were like, they're poor, but like they
poor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They probably live paycheck to paycheck, but like that's because they have a lot of expenses, you know?
Yeah, and did you say Upper West Side?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in New York, you can be rich, but you still feel poor because your apartment is small and it's crowded and
Yeah.
there's rats and stuff. So I can see why she would think that, even if they probably were making more money than someone, you know, out in the country, but...
That's so true. And at age 9, Jen came home from a birthday party, and out of nowhere, she learned from her mother that her father had actually left her mom for another woman.
No.
Which is kind of crazy that that's like foreshadowing her future in a way.
Yeah.
And while he pursued that relationship, she didn't see her father for almost a year.
Oh my gosh.
And her mother was a very classically beautiful woman, and ironically, she became known for her looks, like in her Rachel haircut, but she claims that she grew up with a very big and frizzy hairstyle, and that kids at school were really mean to her, and they called her chubby. But honestly, I was looking at pictures from when she was young. Maybe they're just not available. Like, she was never, like, quote, chubby, so I don't know if she's just, like, saying that. But, I mean, I'll take her word for it. But she told Vanity Fair, "I was a big fat wuss who liked Aerosmith."
Big fat wuss who liked Aerosmith.
So she's kind of like painting herself as, I don't know. Yeah, I guess more...
A loser?
Yeah. The loser who turns pretty or something. And apparently in grade school, a group of kids actually dumped paint on her when she was entering the classroom. I know.
What?
She said...
I guess it's possible.
Yeah, that she was bullied. It's almost like she, like, claims to have, like, Monica's backstory from Friends.
Yeah.
And she says that she turned to humor as a way to cope, and that she was known as the class clown in school. She did off-Broadway acting, and she worked part-time jobs as a waitress and a telemarketer and a bike messenger. And then in 1988, she started doing TV appearances and moved to LA. And she landed roles in 4 very short-lived TV shows, including a show called Malloy, a Ferris Bueller TV show, a show called The Edge, and another show called Muddling Through, all of which were quickly canceled after either a few episodes or a season. So Jen was feeling really depressed, and she's 24 years old, and she pulls into a gas station on Sunset Boulevard. And as she's getting out of her car, she looks and she sees Warren Littlefield, who was then the producer of NBC, and he was pumping his gas. And she must have known him personally through her father, because Days of Our Lives is one of the longest lasting, it actually is the longest lasting NBC show. So it's not like, you know, he was just some big producer and she walked up to him, but she walked up to him and said, "Is it ever going to happen for me?" And he said that she shouldn't take it personally, and that we believe in you. I love you. I so believe in your talent. I'm sure it will. And then a few months later, he gave her the script of Friends, and she originally auditioned for Monica, but they felt that Courtney Cox was the better fit, and so she landed the role of Rachel.
Wow.
And
that's interesting.
The rest is history. She actually, at the same time, was also given the opportunity to be on Saturday Night Live. Like, she was offered a role as a reoccurring cast member there, but she decided to do Friends instead.
That was a smart choice.
Yeah. I feel like I can't really picture her on SNL as a cast member.
I know.
I don't know, like, she's funny, but, like, I'm not, like, falling out of my chair over her humor.
I agree. On SNL, some people become stars, but some people just kind of, I don't know, fall to the wayside a bit. Yeah. So, I don't know. There's just no knowing what would have happened if she did that. But Friends, oh my gosh, that's like one of the most famous shows of all time.
Oh, yeah. It was like at one point, I think, the highest watched show on television.
Yeah.
I would describe her as a hard worker, a mediator. She's always looking to make other people laugh and to relieve tension.
Oh.
It seems like she avoids conflict at all costs, and she really tries her best to be strong. Just from her interviews, I feel like she forces herself to look on the bright side and to spin things as positive to not seem like they affect her. Even when things are incredibly dark and very hard, she always like tries so hard to not appear bitter or resentful. And like sometimes I think she goes a little bit too far.
Interesting.
Like when she was describing her dad leaving unexpectedly, she was like, you know, it's almost for the better. It was like ripping off the Band-Aid. Okay, no, you can just say like it was really hard. You don't have to like, you don't have to act like it was like
almost for the better.
Yeah. And like when she was describing how, so her mom was very beautiful and her mom would pick on Jen's appearance. And she said in an interview with Diane Sawyer, like, you know, she was helping me out. She was doing me a favor. It's like, no, like you don't have to give like everybody the benefit of the doubt. I don't know.
Wow. Oh, that's sad though. It's like she feels like she can't be upset or express discontent in any way.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that you picked up on that.
Oh, definitely. And it definitely, I think, is going to come up with her divorce, because something that people are very much expected to be bitter and resentful for, I feel like she tried very hard to like make it seem like she didn't, like obviously she cared, but like she wasn't mad at Brad or something, you know. But yeah, like you already covered Brad, so I won't really get into his backstory, but as a little refresher, he was born in Oklahoma. Full name, William Bradley Pitt. His father owned a trucking company. His mom was a guidance counselor. They moved to Missouri. He dropped out of college after 2 weeks. We talked about this. And
with 2 weeks left.
Oh, 2 weeks left. I'm sorry. Yes, 2 weeks left.
Yes.
And before graduating. And then moved to LA to take acting lessons. Not even like he had a part. Like, he just moved there to take lessons. Yep. And then he became a breakout star after appearing in Thelma and Louise. And, yeah, I recommend people check out our Brad and Gwyneth episode for a little bit more about his backstory when it comes to relationships before Jen. A little summary. Right. Before being with Jennifer Aniston, he had been engaged twice. Once to Gwyneth Paltrow and once to Jill Sholin. He popped the question in 1989, and they were engaged for 3 months.
Yeah, he was engaged to her, then Gwyneth. And he said Gwyneth was the love of my life. So,
yep. The love of my life.
Guess that wasn't true.
What is true? I don't know.
That's deep.
But so, yes. So, how did they meet? They met in 1994. Jen was 25. He was 30. Both of their managers were friends with each other and introduced them. And around this time, Brad was still dating Gwyneth, and Jen was dating actor Tate Donovan.
Oh, and yeah.
Wait.
Sorry, he was on the OC.
Oh, yes, that's who it is.
Well, at this point, he wouldn't have been on the OC yet, but when he's older, he's on the OC. Yeah. But he was on Friends, too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway.
They look like a cute couple. Maybe we could cover them someday.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Oh, and he dated Sandra Bullock.
Right. Yeah. I feel like Tate Donovan, I don't know. He's one of those guys that surprisingly dated a lot of like A-list women. And then kind of went back into the shadows.
Yeah. Maybe
anyway,
he just like went through too many. I feel like it would be so awkward in Hollywood. Like it's such like you have to run into these people all the time.
I know.
And that will come up. But yeah, so Jen later told Rolling Stone in 2001 about her first impression of Brad. She said he was just this sweet guy from Missouri, you know, a normal guy. And then years later, Brad and Gwyneth were engaged, like we said, but then broke up in 1997, and Jen and Tate broke up in 98. And sometime that year, they were set up on a dinner date, I think by their agents again, in West Hollywood. And Jen was actually asked about this date on Diane Sawyer, and that's the first clip.
You knew right away?
Yeah. We both did on our first date. It was weird.
Did you say it or just think it?
No, thought it. I thought it. That's weird. That was a really easy evening. That was really fun.
strange.
But her saying, like, I thought it.
I don't know, just the way she was talking and motioning her face. It was intense.
Honestly, Diane Sawyer is, like, creepy to me. Like, I don't know. The way she, like, interviews people, like, she's so serious, and I feel like it makes everything they say feel so serious. Yeah. It feels, like, cryptic. Like, even though it's, like, just about Jennifer Aniston, it still feels like it's, like, a murder mystery, you know?
Yeah. I feel like I was picking up on that.
Mm-hmm.
But wow, okay, they felt it.
Yeah. And so then in 1998, both Brad and Jen's careers, they are on fire. At this time, Friends had the second highest ratings on TV, just behind ER. And Brad was in high demand as a movie actor. He had only just recently been nominated for an Oscar 2 years earlier and was working on Fight Club, which is arguably like one of his biggest films. And then we're in 1999. After a year of dating, they made their first public debut as a couple at the Emmy Awards, where Friends was nominated for the Best Comedy Series, and they walked the red carpet together. And Friends lost to Ally McBeal, but people suddenly were obsessed with this new hot couple. And according to Jen, they were bonding a lot about their music tastes, and they both listened to a lot of Radiohead at the time.
Oh, I like that detail.
Yeah.
That's something I want to, moving forward, always kind of figure out with couples is, like, what is it about each other that they were attracted to?
Yes. You know? Yeah. Like, what is, like, what their conversations about.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, I think music was a big thing that bonded them. And so then in November, they attended a Sting concert in New York City. And they got on stage with Sting. And while he was performing, Jen lifts up her hand to show off her engagement ring. And then together, they sing the lyrics to Sting's song, Fill Her Up, into the microphone, which are, we're going to Vegas, we're gonna get wed, so fill her up, son, don't be staring, yeah, that's a real diamond she be wearing.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
So this was like after a year of dating or so. And because this is such a public display, like, I feel like this made people so obsessed with them.
Makes sense. Brad kind of freaks me out with how easily he proposes to people.
Oh, yeah, this is his third engagement.
His third engagement.
And he's only, like 34 or something?
Yeah. I feel like if I was Gwyneth, they'd be like, what the hell?
I know.
Okay. Anyway.
I know, it's like, I don't really know that many people from real life. Maybe, like, one person who's been engaged and then broken it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like kind of a big deal.
I know.
That must be tough for him proposing too, when it's like, I have been through this before.
Yeah, like getting on one knee, being all heartfelt about it, like, will you spend the rest of your life with me? Like, that's just crazy that he's already done that twice.
I know, but we've talked about this before, and like with celebrities, like everything is so exciting for them that, like, I feel like they kind of have to do stuff like that pretty early on to get, like, that high. Because, like,
they have to take it to the next level.
Yeah, because otherwise life is boring doing exciting things all the time.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, they have the means. Like, I know some people where, like, they're just, like, saving up to get a ring. You can go, like, if you can buy, like,
I know, yeah.
really expensive, like, several $1,000 rings, like, it's no big deal. Like, why don't you, you know?
I feel like that's so true. Like, so many normal people, getting married is something you really have to work for and wait for, like paying for the wedding and the ring and, like, hopefully a honeymoon or something. Like, they can just do it so easily. So if you're in love, then, like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's, like, no big deal. Like, they don't have to worry about any of the logistics that go into it.
Yeah.
That us normal people think about.
And I feel like the logistics makes you really think about, is this really the one?
So
because
true.
I'm about to spend a ton of money on this.
That's so true.
So I'm only doing this once. Like, is this really my soulmate? You know, whereas like a celebrity, I feel like doesn't quite have to question it as much because it's easy.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. Yeah, it's like no big deal. Like,
because that would be a huge mistake to spend like
I know,
all your
and
money.
like people make it, and it's like, oh my god, I dished out like $30,000 for a wedding,
and all of their friends and family that have to pay for gifts and stuff, and they can't really afford it. Like it's a lot.
It's a pressure that celebrities don't understand.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're in love. Well, let's get married. Like,
Let's do it. Yeah.
And they did it. It's 2000, July 29th. She's 31. He is 36. They got married on the coast of Malibu at the estate of TV producer Marcy Carsey, best known for producing The Cosby Show, Roseanne, and That 70s Show. And Jen walked down the aisle in a glass bead low back gown by Lawrence Steele, and the couple reportedly both received brother and sister highlights, according to Bride magazine, to their hairs ahead of the ceremony. Yeah, I think it's weird.
So,
it's
like,
called
matching
matching highlights. Yeah.
It's kind of cute.
Yeah, and we talked about this in the Brad and Gwyneth episode, that like he always makes his hair and style match his girlfriend.
I forgot about that. He does. He always matches the hair.
He like mirrors them. It's a little odd.
Brad's an interesting fellow.
He is, yeah. And there were 50,000 flowers present because Brad wanted the wedding to look like a Zen garden. And the bridesmaids wore pale green dresses. For their first dance, they danced to The Way You Look Tonight, and they had live performances by a 40-person gospel choir and Melissa Etheridge, and a Greek bouzouki band, and a 13-minute fireworks show to close out the evening.
Wow.
Yeah, a normal person could not drop money like that willy-nilly.
Yeah.
That's like...
It's like she just married Gatsby or something.
I know, yeah. Very extravagant. And there was lots of paparazzi overhead taking aerial shots of the venue. Like, this was highly anticipated. And it's crazy we even know this much information about it, but it was huge.
It's fun.
I know. And noticeably absent from the wedding was Jen's mother, who 1 year earlier had actually written an unauthorized tell-all book about raising Jen against her wishes, which made Jen feel exploited, and she cut her mom out of her life. So I guess that's a little contrary to what I said earlier about, like, always looking on the bright side, but even, like, talking about it, like, when she gave interviews, like, she said, like, you know, I was really hurt. I felt like she took advantage. But she still doesn't really, like, badmouth her mom. She's like, I just need space.
I'm sure in private she does get upset and go off on people, but she publicly doesn't want to for whatever reason. That's really upsetting. That would be very painful, I think.
Yeah, and she, beforehand,
I would feel like a betrayal.
Oh, growing up, she was very, very close with her mom too. So, this was a huge blow for her. And
yeah, that would be very upsetting. I'm trying to imagine like my own mom doing something like that. I would be so upset
because it's your mom. Like, it's like that's the person who's supposed to protect you the most.
It's so sad because nobody wants to cut out their mother, you know?
Exactly.
Like, that's so painful. That's just, ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a huge betrayal of trust, and it's, I don't know if it came from, like, her, like, mom's insecurity about finances from when they were younger or something. I think Jen maybe said that. Like, her mom was always worried about, like, money, so she saw this as an opportunity for herself, but... pretty bad.
Still, I'm sure Jen could have given her money.
I know, exactly.
If she really needed it.
Yeah, like, why is that the way to get it?
Yeah.
And Jen legally changed her last name to Pitt, And they did not
I
sign.
didn't know that.
Yeah, they didn't sign a prenup. And this is my question for the audience. Like, what do you guys think of prenups? Like, do you think it's less romantic to sign one, or do you think it's like just a necessity, especially if you have that much money?
That's a good question. I feel like I don't know too much about them and like how it works.
I think it's like you're deciding before you get married how you would divide your assets.
Is it only in the event of divorce?
I think so, yeah.
Not death?
I don't know.
That's probably more of a will type of thing.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
a will, yeah.
I don't know. It does seem very unromantic to me. I don't know, I guess, but some people have different definitions about why they're getting married. Like, I don't know. It is odd to me. It's very weird, I think, to think, like, if this doesn't work out, I don't know. But
It's weird because Jen and Brad didn't sign a prenup, but it seems like their divorce was actually not that complicated. And not to spoil anything, but, like, Angelina and Brad signed a prenup, and they're still not legally divorced. Like, they're still fighting about
so
their
maybe
assets.
it doesn't even help.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's based off of, I'm pretty sure, this might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's based off of, like, your assets at the time you get married. If you've been married to someone for a number of years and then, like, buy properties and, like,
True.
build wealth together, I don't know, like, how that's accounted for.
I know this is way jumping ahead, but I know that Brad and Angelina, like, owned a vineyard together, and that caused a lot of problems, right? Because
They're still fighting.
She tried to sell.
Yeah.
She tried to sell her shares to other people or something. And I don't know.
I'm very excited to get into that in the next episode. That will be fun. Well, I mean, sad for them. It's a family, of course, but
Yes.
fun to talk about, I guess. I'm a terrible person.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet.
Yeah. We got a long ways to go. So then, for their honeymoon, the newlyweds took a private trip to the island of Seychelles, which is located in the Indian Ocean in the east coast of Africa. And I don't think any paparazzi found them there, which is nice. And
cool.
They made their first debut as a married couple once again at the Emmy Awards. That's a big place for them. And later in 2004, Jen said that the first year of marriage was both the hardest and best year of her life, and that she said, it's just getting used to the idea that you're married and am I ready? There's always that am I ready question. I don't know. I thought I was ready.
That's weird.
I know. It's kind of cryptic.
I thought I was.
You know what? That implies, like, trouble in paradise, kind of.
It does.
And in 2001, in June, they purchased a 12,000 square foot home with 6 bedrooms in Beverly Hills for $13.5 million, which they would spend the next 3 years renovating. That was like a big part of pretty much every interview I read about them was like talking about them working on their home. And I think that did maybe cause a bit of tension between them, some disagreements about like style choices or, you know, just like little things that couples might bicker about, but nothing like too serious, you know?
Charlie and I totally bicker about that.
I think it's a common thing. I remember it came up in the James Taylor and Carly Simon one about the pool.
When she put in a pool without asking him.
It's pretty bad. But you would think as a celebrity, like, you have so much money that it doesn't really matter, but...
I know, we were wondering, what's wrong? Why doesn't he want a pool? What's
yeah.
wrong?
Like, I feel like if you had that much money, you would assume, like, well, why wouldn't we have a pool?
I know. Yeah.
That's just like buying toilet paper at that point.
Yeah, for them.
No, it's. I think he had a problem with them having a pool, like when they live so close to the beach. But you know what? Best of both worlds.
I know.
So then
Best of both?
Yeah. Then in September, Jen does an interview with Rolling Stone and gives us insight into their married life. She says that her friends originally expected Brad to be conceited, but that they came around to see that he's a great person. And she also said that being married is like, she said about being married, if there's an argument, it's not like you can go, screw you, I'm out of here. You're there for the long haul. It's a beautiful thing to actually realize that for the first time, to have that knowing. It takes the heat and the weight out of things, which I think is true. Like, that's kind of why I like the idea of marriage. It's like, it is harder to break up. And I know that might sound like almost like you're a hostage in a way, but like, I think if you really care about a lifelong partnership and commitment, it's nice to have that certificate to make it just, harder to break up. And that way, like, you have to really question, like, is this what I really want to do? And that, like, I really made a vow, so, like, I'm going to actually put in more work to work on the relationship.
I agree. The way I see it is like they're becoming your family. They're not blood related to you, but they're becoming your family.
Exactly.
It's kind of like no matter what, you can never make your sibling not your sibling or your parent not your parent. And like, I guess you can make your spouse not your spouse. But that's kind of the idea, is like we're becoming more than just dating. This is like, you're my family now.
Yeah.
Like, we are together.
That's why I feel like divorce must be so traumatizing, because it's like going back on something that you at one point thought you would never ever do. Like, otherwise you wouldn't have gotten married in the first place.
Yeah.
Sad. So Brad, in November of that year, guest starred on an episode of Friends where his character hates Rachel. I feel like people love that. To be honest with you guys, I have seen several episodes of Friends, but I've never really watched it. Like,
really?
I know enough about the show. Like, I've seen episodes here and there, but like, I've never watched like it consecutively.
I did, and I remember that episode. He's very cute. Yeah,
like,
I loved
that episode.
Yeah, I watched the whole thing in order in college, and I love it. And I think it's great. And I get annoyed when people hate on it, because I feel like it got just like too overexposed, maybe. But I don't know. I like it.
It's just such a big part of TV history, and it's like such a cultural phenomenon.
Gen X.
Yeah, it's what a different time that like a sitcom on network TV could be like the most watched or second most watched TV show in the country, and now it's like nobody even watches those shows anymore unless they just like accidentally leave the TV on after like the news or something.
I know.
It's kind of sad.
Maybe it'll come back someday.
Yeah. I hope so.
Anyway.
So then it's 2003 February. Jen does an interview with W Magazine, and she's asked what it's like to have found the love of her life. And she answers, Is he the love of my life? I think you're always sort of wondering, are you the love of my life? I mean, I don't know. I've never been someone who says, he's the love of my life. He's certainly a big love in my life. And I know that we have something special, especially in all this chaos. In this nutty, brilliant, wonderful, hard business that we have, it's nice to have somebody who's anchored and knows you, really knows all of you.
Wow, that's interesting.
Especially since Brad is the kind of person to call someone the love of my life.
Wow. It's just so interesting, because I feel like so many women, and men too probably, think that Brad Pitt is so attractive, and oh my god, I wish I could be with him. And it's just very interesting to hear her say, she won't even say that he's the love of her life.
I know, but I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, and I feel like she just like kind of hates being asked stuff like that, and is...
Yeah.
I do think it seems like, even though she is very public about things, like, is also a little bit afraid to be vulnerable with the press, and doesn't, like, want to give people her power of, like, saying, like, oh, yeah, I'm in love with him. I don't know. Yeah, I think it's, like, less about him and more about, like, she doesn't want to, like, say something that vulnerable.
Yeah. And I do think by the time you're 30 or whatever, and she's had other relationships, I don't know, the concept might be a little less simple than it maybe would have been.
Yeah, exactly.
When she was younger.
It is quite a heavy question to ask somebody. So
yeah.
I think maybe she's just like being philosophical.
I know.
Like,
sometimes
what is
people
that?
do that.
Yeah. Oh God, that reminds me of
questions.
Prince Charles.
Oh yeah, Charles.
He was asked,
Charles,
"Are you in love?" Yes, whatever love is, or whatever.
Like, Charles, this is not the time to be philosophical. Whatever love is.
He was trying to have like a.
I totally think that's what he was doing though. Because
Yeah.
I don't know, I just got obsessive with Charles and like read so much about him, and he totally was just being like a philosophical prick and was
Trying to be
trying
deep.
to question that. Yeah, what is love?
Yeah.
I really don't think he was trying. It still came off like an asshole, but I think he wasn't trying to shade Diana. He was just trying to be deep.
That's kind of what I think Jen was doing too. But of course, like, you read that in a magazine, it does raise some eyebrows.
Wow.
And Jen is asked if they fight, and she says that they do, but that they're more like discussions, and that she's not a fan of yelling. She also adds that Brad is very kind, which is very different from her upbringing, where her parents would fight. And around this time, Jen is being taken more seriously as a film actor. She starts receiving Oscar buzz for her role in the drama The Good Girl, and starts doing more and more films. Then it's 2004, it's January, and Jen does a sit-down interview with Diane Sawyer. I already showed you guys part of this interview before. And she just talks really in-depth about her life and her marriage with Brad. It's a very long special, and I think like part of it is because Friends is ending soon, so there's just like a lot of buzz. I bet Jen's like managers and agents, like it does seem like they were doing like everything possible to like make the world kind of obsessed with Jennifer Aniston, and she was just this big star, and I think it's like a 60 minutes interview or something like that. Like, it's a big interview. It feels very serious. And she talks about their big house and says that even though they have more rooms in their new house, they're still always in the same room. And Diane asks who is more jealous, and Jen says, I think jealousy is healthy to a point, but no, we've worked on that one. We've knocked that one out.
But no.
I feel like Jen's like speaking patterns sometimes are like, she never really uses like verbal clutter the way I'm using, you know, like,
yeah.
In a way, she sometimes feels like she's acting when she's giving an interview.
Well, that's what I felt in that first Diane Sawyer interview. That's why it kind of freaked me out. It seemed like she was acting.
Yes. No, that's like, I feel like I often feel that way. And that makes me wonder, like, is she being genuine? Or maybe her acting is very true to how she is in real life. I don't know. It's like she feels like her characters.
Maybe.
So I'm going to show you more of that. So Diane asks about the Brad quote in the W magazine saying that she was unsure if he was the love of her life. And I'll play that. Or you can play it. It's at 21:02.
It was very interesting because at one point somebody asked you recently, I think W magazine, if he was the love of your life. And you hesitated.
No, I didn't hesitate. That was something that I hated reading. I can't imagine being with any other human being. I married him because he was the love of my life. And, you know, he's the most fun I've ever had. So when these things are written in magazines and taken out of context, and it's so frustrating because people then take it and run with it, or if you don't, God forbid, thank them at an award ceremony. I mean, Jesus, we were divorced and moving into different homes.
Yeah, the way she's talking, maybe it's not her fault. Maybe Diane Sawyer is creating this atmosphere, but it just feels really dramatic.
Yeah. It is interesting that she's like, oh, I hated that. Like, he is the love of my life. Like, they took it out of context. But that's the quote. Like, I don't know. Like, you did say, like, is he the love of my life? Maybe we have to hear how it was phrased, but...
I love that this really reminds me of Charles. I love it's bringing us way back to that. I think he did the same thing, like damage control kind of.
Yeah. It does suck when you say something, but people interpret it wrong.
Yeah.
And
it does.
It is hard to explain what you meant sometimes. Happens even on the podcast, so.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Anything I say that upsets anybody, I didn't mean it.
Yeah. So in the same interview, she talks about how Friends is ending soon, and she says pretty adamantly that they would like to start having kids soon. And that's in a lot of interviews. Like it's a theme kind of that Brad says he wants to have a lot of kids, and she says like, oh, like, 2 or 3. Like it's like a kind of a running gag that like they're fighting about like how many kids they want.
Wow.
And the public seems like very eager. The public and the press are very eager and excited for like when they finally start having kids.
Still.
Yeah, literally. Still. They're hung up on it. And I feel like I have thoughts about that I'll get to later.
Okay.
But so it's January 23rd, and the last episode of Friends was filmed after 10 seasons. And friends of Jen were shocked that Brad did not attend the final taping. However, Jen defended this to reporters by saying that he was busy working. But later, in magazines, it will say stuff like, well, a star that big could have gotten time off, So people think that that's kind of like a crack in the glass,
That's what you hinted at last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's a pretty big moment in Jen's life. And I think she was pretty, like, bereaved about the end of this TV show. Like, I mean, it was her whole life for 10 years. And it's like a family in a way. And I think it came with a lot of emotions.
I actually used to have a keychain that said Friends, 1994 to 2004.
Oh.
On my backpack.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just like, even thinking about like, I used to dance growing up, like when that ended, like it did feel like a death in a way. Like I'm sure that was like hugely significant. So she's interviewed by The Guardian, and she opens up more about their plans to have kids soon. She says, it's time. I think you can work with a baby. I think you can work pregnant. I think you can do all of it. So I'm just truly looking forward to slowing down. And she also reveals that they just had finished renovating their multi-million-dollar mansion.
Someone to talk about this house.
I know, literally. It's like in every single magazine. But it's like, the thing, like, their divorce was so public, but I do think a lot of that they inadvertently brought on themselves by making their relationship so public, which maybe is why couples are a lot more private now. Like, they're talking to us about, like, having kids, and I think that makes people at home feel so invested in their lives, like almost the way an aunt or uncle is like in a niece or nephew's life. Like they're just like, when are you having kids? When are you gonna do this? And like people care way too much, but it's because they kind of play into it. So then when they break up, like it's just gonna be a lot more devastating for people because they felt like they were invested in it,
True.
It does seem so shocking that they would break up, because it's like, you were just talking about having a family. Like, what happened,
What happened?
Well, so the story goes, it's May, and the filming of Mr. and Mrs. Smith begins in California.
Oh, no.
You guys know this stars Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, and this is a sexy film. Sexy spy film. I've never actually seen it, but it looks like they have a lot of good chemistry.
They do. I watched it last year with Charlie, and it's a fun movie, and they have a lot of chemistry. It's palpable. It's very sexy.
Energy don't lie.
Right.
And at this time, Angelina is recently separated from her husband, Billy Bob Thornton. And there's growing rumors of intimacy between the two stars. And it's become a hot topic in a lot of the tabloids. It's just a rumor, but it's picking up steam in the press, I would say. However, the affair seems to be disputed when Brad and Jen walk the red carpet at the Troy premiere in New York City. So by all accounts, it seems like they're still doing well. They're still making public appearances together. And then the last episode of Friends comes out on May 6th, which was very difficult for Jen. And then later on, her real-life friends will tell the press that she had hoped to lean on Brad for support during this time, but that he was growing more and more emotionally absent.
No. Why?
He was busy filming Mr. and Mrs. Smith. So then it's June, and Brad is profiled by Vanity Fair. And in this article, he talks about how there's a lot of hard edges in their new Beverly Hills mansion. Well, they've lived there for 3 years, but this mansion keeps coming up. And that Jen has been making a lot of nervous comments about having to baby-proof the house. And to that, he shrugs and says, I have a different theory. You gotta fall down, you gotta learn. And he says that he'd consider moving again, and the interviewer picks up on some apparent restlessness that he has. That, like, especially, like, with the house, like, now that, like, they finished, he kind of doesn't even really want to, like, live there, you know?
Oh, man.
The interviewer pries further about their plans to have kids, and he says, it will happen when it happens. I've got friends with kids, and I've got nieces and nephews, and they just bring out a joy I've gotten from few things. I am selfish, so I worry about having to give up my time. But I gotta go see what it's about. I think I've got a lot of stuff to tell them, and the idea of being responsible and setting someone loose in the world sounds really fulfilling. And he says, when asked about how many kids he wants, he says, I'll go till someone says to stop. I would love all girls. Guys, I know they're going to be pissed off at me. I know I'll fuck them up somehow.
Interesting.
And in this article, he opens up about how in the past he seemingly suffered from what he calls a congenital sadness, especially in his earlier relationships, but that he's better at keeping it in check. Which is interesting. I feel like that kind of goes with like the restlessness in a way. Like he's always trying to fill some void in his life.
Yeah. I'm puzzled. I'm just puzzled about what's going on.
I know. And about Jen, he says, her emphasis is the home, friends, and family. We all kind of crowd around her like moths to the flame. She's like a magnet. She brings a lot of people together that way. Jen's fireplace. She provides the warmth.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, that's a really sweet thing to say. It does seem like he does have a lot of love and admiration for her. And he's asked how they feel about the media attention on them as a couple, and he says, neither of us wants to be the spokesperson for a happy marriage, for coupledom. I'll tell you what I despise. This two becomes one thing where you lose your individuality. We don't cage each other with this pressure of happily ever after. You figure it out as you go along. We feel it out rather than setting policies and rules. Jen and I always made a pact that we'll see where this is going. I'm not sure it really is in our nature to be with someone for the rest of our lives just because you made that pact. You keep going as long as you keep growing. When that dies, we do. But it constantly surprises me. Just when you think we've gotten all you can get out of it, you get knocked upside down the head. It's good fun. We still have that friendship. We still have a good laugh, which can go in and out depending on the dynamics and outside influences. It's complicated, but that's what keeps it interesting. We're good at getting shit on the table. Then she tells other people and I get mad.
What?
A lot to break down there. A lot. Kind of goes against what we were saying earlier about like why we think marriage is kind of romantic. Like it is odd for me to hear someone say like, we'll see where this goes. Like I don't think most normal people when they get married have a like, know. Let's see where this goes.
We'll
like
he said, did he say we're both people that wouldn't be with someone for the rest of their lives?
He said, I don't know if it's in our nature to be with someone. So I don't know if he's talking about them as two people or
humans.
Humans in general.
Still, I would not want to hear my husband say that.
No. Yeah.
Publicly.
Oh, we're just having fun and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, I don't know if humans are meant to be with one person. Excuse me?
I mean, and just knowing what we know now, that, like, at this time,
Yeah.
like, his attraction for Angelina Jolie was probably taking up a huge piece of his mind. That is very interesting that it's almost like he has one foot out the door, you know, and is contemplating.
Yeah, he's trying to explain it away, saying like, well, I don't know if people are even supposed to.
And it's like odd because he thinks what he's saying is like so romantic in a way. He's like, we have a pact, like we have a mutual understanding for each other that like we're just gonna keep going until we can't go any further.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to each their own, but... And the way he even says, like, outside influences. Yeah, I guess that could be the press, but also another woman.
If I was Jennifer's friends right now, I'd be freaking out.
Me too.
This is not good.
Like, I don't know.
Doesn't sound good.
No. I guess, like...
Aww.
I mean... It's good to not see marriage like an end-all, be-all if it's very unhappy and miserable, but it's a bad sign when they're saying, like, yeah, you know, this might not be a forever thing, but we'll see. But he does end this interview by saying that he's happier than he's ever been.
Okay. But is that because of her? Or
I
because
know.
of
I don't.
Angelina?
Or because of Angelina.
Ugh.
That's so true. To the outside world, though, you would think it's because of Jen. A couple weeks later, he went on the Oprah show, and he is asked about this article, and we have a clip.
Emphasis is the home. This is a quote. You say, friends and family, we all crowd around her like moths to the flame.
Yeah, she's one of the warmest people I meet, and we all...
You say she's the magnet. She's
we
the
do all
fireplace.
crowd around her. She's like that fire we all crowd around for warmth. And she's,
Really?
no, I'm not, this is genuine. It's truly genuine. There's not a ill-intentioned bone in this woman's body. She's really extraordinary that way, and she's taught me a lot that way.
Really?
Yeah. She brings people together.
Well, I just saw her the other day at the Bel Air Hotel. We were talking about, you know, friends ascending and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's roll just a little bit of that. You know your husband's going to be on. I have to interview him next week. Did you know that? Mm-hmm.
I'm so jealous I can't be in Chicago and be there.
So what should I ask him?
Oh, anything you possibly can.
Have you seen the movie?
I have.
And?
It's fantastic. It's exquisite. It's epic. It's huge. And he's a badass.
You look at the camera and say something to him for me. You want to say, because we're going to air this when he's on.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Which camera?
That one right there.
Hi, baby. I love you.
I feel like you wouldn't suspect if you're just like an outside person who's really invested in this couple. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You would think that they're more in love than ever, you know?
You would.
Especially because they're on something like the Oprah show. Like, you know, people, stay-at-home moms and stuff, they're home. They're like, they have that on TV while they're like folding their laundry and watching it. Like, I feel like especially like at that time, not that daytime talk shows like aren't still really big, but like they felt very significant to me, like growing up, like even like on a half day, like they were on TV. And I don't know, I feel like tabloids were even bigger back then, and like they were just like in your living room, so you felt like you knew them really well.
Right.
And they were huge celebrities. And so that summer, I mean, they still are, obviously, but that summer, the filming of Mr. and Mrs. Smith is further underway. Obviously, people believe that Angelina and Brad had an affair while they were filming it. And they both later on had denied this, and Angelina had said that she would never be attracted to a man who would cheat on his wife. And I do believe that they maybe didn't cheat. I mean, I don't know. I could go either way.
Where did these rumors come from? Just people assuming something was going on because they were so sexy in the movie?
Yeah, and then like...
Is that the only reason?
Well, and because also he got together with Angelina, like right after the divorce.
Yeah, right.
So it just seemed like obviously something must have been going on. But in 2006, Angelina gave an interview about their relationship, and she said, "I didn't know much about exactly where Brad was in his personal life, but it was clear he was with his best friend, someone he loves and respects. And so we were both loving, I suppose, we were both living, I suppose, very full lives. I think we were the last two people who were looking for a relationship. Like, no shit, obviously. If you're married, you're not looking for a relationship.
Yeah.
But she said, I certainly wasn't. I was quite content to be a single mom. Brad was a huge surprise to me. I, like most people, had a very distant impression of him from the media. And she said, because of the film, we ended up being brought together to do all these crazy things, and I think we found this strange friendship and partnership that kind of just suddenly happened. I think a few months in, I realized, God, I can't wait to get to work. Anything we had to do with each other, we just found a lot of joy in it together and a lot of real teamwork. We just became kind of a pair. It took until really the end of the shoot for us, I think, to realize that it might mean something more than we'd earlier allowed ourselves to believe. And both knowing that the reality of that was a big thing, something that was going to take a lot of serious consideration. Which I believe. Like, I do think, like, if they were very attracted to each other, but then also had to be intimate for their job, like, you literally do have to do, like, sex scenes with this person, it would be very hard to, like, resist your desires, because, like, it's not like you can be like, you know what, I'm married, I need distance from this person, because it's your job, you know?
That is crazy. Wow.
Like, I think in real life, someone might be able to, they might be tempted by other people or feel attracted to people, but they're able to create more clear boundaries in order to protect their relationship. But, like, if you're filming a movie with someone where you do need to have chemistry, it's almost like it would be bad for your job to, like, not continue to, like, explore it.
That's wild.
So I feel kind of like, you know, people obviously hate Angelina, and I feel like maybe we should get more into that in the next episode, but I kind of understand it. Like, it does seem like they weren't trying to fall in love, but they just happened to, and, like, what are you supposed to do, kind of?
Yeah. I wonder if him and Jennifer's relationship was breaking down already in some ways. Because, I don't know, I do think even though he maybe was attracted to her, and yes, they have to make out and pretend to have sex and stuff, like, that, when the movie ended, I feel like he should have still been able to walk away.
Yeah.
But
I don't think he did. They did remain really good friends while taking a lot of time to deeply consider and contemplate what they should do with their connection. So, like, at that point, it kind of is at least an emotional affair if you're, like, talking with the other person about potentially leaving your wife for her. Like,
yeah,
that is kind of cheating.
That is emotionally cheating. I know some people debate, like, if that's really cheating or whatever.
But I don't know.
If that is a type, I think it is. That is what it is.
But I do think, like, it's I think would be traumatizing to experience as being on the receiving end as Jennifer Aniston, but I guess at some point some people do have to experience that. Like, if you really did feel like you loved somebody else even though you were married, like, you do have to consider it, maybe, if you feel like, oh shoot, am I with the right person? I don't know. I feel like it's romantic to call your partner, like, your best friend, but it does appear to me like maybe with Jennifer and Brad, obviously this is speculation, but, like, they're very heavy on the friendship thing at this point in their marriage publicly, that makes you wonder if, like, it feels more like a friendship than a relationship.
That's what I was thinking. It was odd to me hearing that phrase a couple times.
Like, maybe the excitement of, you know, a new relationship had worn off, obviously, and so like everything with Angelina was just more thrilling.
But you can't chase that forever.
No, it's gonna wear off with everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like a mature person probably knows that when they get married. But do people stay hungry for that? I don't know. It's kind of scary.
I think you just have to realize that it's just a distraction in a way.
Well, and that goes with his restlessness.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think he's
I don't
someone
know.
who might be content with just like a peaceful marriage.
So then what, Mel?
So again, still to the public, it seems like Brad and Jen are still going strong. They walk the red carpet once again at the Emmys that year. And
Okay.
then it's December 27th, and Brad and Jen leave for a 2-week getaway to Anguilla for a New Year's Eve with Courtney Cox and David Arquette, like a vacation. And paparazzi snaps photos of them on the trip together, and they look very in love. And on this trip, he's wearing a t-shirt on the beach that says trash, and I don't really know, like, if that has any
It
significance.
says trash?
Yeah, just like trash on his t-shirt. But there's a photo of them kissing on the beach, and sources on the islands say that they seem very in love. And one restaurant owner told Us Weekly that they were all over each other like a rash. They had their paws all over eeach other. And on New Year's Eve, witnesses said that his arm was around her the entire night. And then it's, New Year's Eve, it's January, it's now 2005, it's a new year. And on the last full day of their vacation, the couple release a joint statement to People magazine.
What?
They say, "We would like to announce that after 7 years together, we have decided to formally separate."
What the hell?
They're still on vacation. For those who follow these sort of things, we would like to explain that our separation is not the result of any of the speculation reported by the tabloid media. This decision is the result of much thoughtful consideration. We happily remain committed and caring friends with great love and admiration for one another. We ask in advance for your kindness and sensitivity in the coming months.
I don't understand how this is possible.
I know. And on the flight back to California, both Jen and Brad are still wearing their wedding rings. And an editor for Us Weekly, Janice Min, says that the couple took this vacation knowing it was going to be the end of their marriage.
What? That's freaky.
I have to ask you guys, if you know that a breakup is imminent, is it a good idea to end it with like one last hurrah, like one last romantic getaway?
I could not.
I couldn't.
I mean, maybe if I'm the one that decided it, but if I'm the one being dumped, no
you're
fucking
not gonna,
way.
No,
Excuse
you're
my
not
language.
gonna get your cake and eat it too.
And but also I don't know. I did go on like this weekend trip where I feel like I, bleep, where I knew that the relationship was like ending. It was pretty obvious, but like it was horrible.
Yeah, I feel like you were like, I don't want to be here.
It was absolutely awful. The worst trip I've ever been on in my life. So I don't understand. I mean, I guess they're just really chill. Or I don't know. I don't understand how they were like all over each other and just having a good time, supposedly.
It's like they were
based
like
on the pictures.
in denial. I feel like sometimes people maybe do that with like they have sex like one last time, but like but that's like stupid. Like
I don't even think I could do that.
I mean, that's gonna make it
only
worse.
if it was see, it's like kind of narcissistic, I think, but like only if it was my decision, I feel like could I enjoy that. But like if I'm the one who didn't initiate the divorce or the breakup, like that would just be tragic.
Well, here, you know what I think? I think for the person who decided it, it's selfish because it's like, oh yeah, like it's almost like when you take your, like, you're going to put your dog down. And so you give them like one last day where they get to eat like a McDonald's cheeseburger or something. Like that's what it's reminding me of. But like, I feel like for the person who's getting broken up with, I wonder if for them, they almost think it's like one last chance to like convince the person like what they're going to be missing,
That's true.
Which is stupid. It's stupid because it's like, it's the person has already made up their mind. You're just making it harder for yourself because you're reminding yourself what you're going to lose, I could not.
If anyone can pull that off and do it and enjoy it, like all props to them. That's great, but that just seems so awful to me.
It seems like it's prolonging the sadness. Also weird that they did it with like another couple.
I know. Oh my gosh, I wonder what Courtney Cox and David Arquette thought.
Yeah, like
this is awkward. I wish I wasn't here.
Yeah, because they must have known about it. Like, they probably were working on their statement, right?
Yeah. Gosh.
I don't know.
Why are celebrities so weird?
I know. Also, like, cut the crap. I hate those statements about, like, we remain committed friends to each other. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're not going to be committed friends to each other anymore. Like, you don't have to pretend like this is, like, a happy thing.
Oh.
They always do that. Like, just say, like, we're breaking up to give us our privacy.
They always act like it's for no reason, too.
I know.
People don't get divorced for no reason.
No. And
that doesn't make any sense.
They always act like it's like, we just mutually came to the decision that this was best. We lovingly decided to break up. Like, no. There's probably a little animosity there if you want to break up in the first place.
We love each other so much that we're setting each other free.
Yeah.
What?
No. Like, you would still be married if you loved each other that much. And I don't know. I just don't like that they do it like that because, yes, it probably makes it better for themselves. But for us normal people who are, like, so distraught about breakups, it's like, wait, is this easier for everybody else? And no, they're just pretending. I
know. I do hate that. I mean, yeah, I guess some people are just really chill, or maybe they're just heartless. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I do sometimes compare myself to people that are seemingly able to, like, be in the band with their ex, or, you know, be best friends with their significant other's ex or whatever. And I'm like, what the heck? Why aren't I able to do that?
Yeah, but and it's like,
maybe they're just pretending.
I know. Like, is there something wrong with me that I feel like I'm gonna throw up just by the mention of their name?
Yeah. Oh.
I'm sure it's a spectrum, and some people really are a lot chiller than I am. But I have to believe that most celebrities are faking it.
Me too. I think they are.
And, of course, everybody is shocked. I mean, this was a couple that seemed like they were just making out on the beach. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
And
like days ago.
Yeah, literally. And tabloids are initially reporting that it's because Brad wanted kids, but Jen wasn't ready.
I've heard that.
Mm-hmm. But still, it's rumored that the real reason is, of course, Angelina Jolie. But Brad, who at this time makes $200 million per movie, has a lot to lose if he goes through a messy divorce. And I'm going to read an excerpt from this editor, Joe Dolce of Star Magazine. He wrote, "These guys' careers are based on their saleability, which is based on their appeal and their attractiveness to the public. And that has to be maintained. If it came out that Brad was having an affair, cheating on his wife, there might be a couple years where Brad couldn't open a movie depending on what that movie was. You know, if his main draw was women, and women are angry at him for messing around on his wife with another beautiful, gorgeous Hollywood starlet, they might vote with their daughters and not go see the next movie." Which is really interesting. And we have to keep in mind that a big star like Brad has a lot of pull with reporters. He has the best publicist in town. And so stories like that, like he wanted kids, but Jen wasn't ready, you kind of do have to question, like, where are they coming from? Because it does seem like it's not a noble reason to leave your wife, but like something that people might be more sympathetic to, you know?
Yeah. That's so true.
But it's stupid.
I feel like what you were talking about, like, I don't know, the typical housewife at home with the daytime TV on or something, like she would turn against Jen for that reason.
Yes, that's so true.
You know?
And these are the people that were attached to them because they're like on Oprah and Diane Sawyer and stuff. But it's so hard to believe because I feel like a man usually doesn't leave his wife because she's not ready to have kids. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but like they don't have that like time limit the way a woman does. So it's not like,
I know, I find it hard to believe.
Yeah, it's not like he's like, oh, I'm in a rush. Like,
I've never heard of that happening.
No. I mean, maybe since he does have that restlessness, he was like eager for the next step, but I don't buy it.
Maybe.
They were already talking about having kids anyway. Like, I just don't think that that's really true.
I know. I don't know. I guess I only know my own experiences, but I've heard of the reverse happening in heterosexual relationships where the woman wants to have a kid and the man doesn't, and so she leaves him. But I've never heard of the opposite.
Yeah.
Sure, it has happened, but...
And it's just interesting because, like, he leaves her for someone who, like, already has a kid and is, like, in the process. Like, Angelina at this time had adopted a baby boy, like, a year before, and she's in the process of adopting a daughter. So, like, he's leaving her for someone who's, like, very motherly, you know. So now it's March 25th. Jen officially files for divorce. And ironically, around this time, it's announced that Jen will star in the romantic comedy The Breakup. And she's asked about that in an interview. And she says, well, you know, I just figured seize the moment.
I don't think I've seen that movie, but I would like to.
I've never finished it. I've started it like 10 times.
Really?
It's not that it's a bad movie. It just, like, for some reason, I've never watched it all the way through.
I see.
I should one of these days. So it's April, and paparazzi photos come out of Brad and Angelina on the beach in Kenya playing with her son, Maddox. And, like, they just look like a happy little family together. And one of Jen's best friends from high school, Andrea Benedwald, told reporters it was extremely hurtful to Jen that he was seen with another woman so quickly after they were separated.
Man.
Which I think a lot of Jen's close friends seemingly talk to the press. And it, like, if her mom telling an unauthorized story, like selling a story, was so upsetting to her, it does kind of make me think that Jen kind of authorized her friends to, like, tell her side of the story without having to do it herself, you know?
That's such a good point.
Like, they do it a lot, and I feel like it's, like, her way of throwing him under the bus, but not coming across as bitter or resentful.
That's her way of putting her feelings out there.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so the public starts being really sympathetic for Jen. A very popular Hollywood boutique called Kitson reported that its Team Aniston t-shirts were outselling the Team Jolie shirts 25-1.
Wow.
A cultural phenomenon, really.
Really? Yeah, seriously.
Everybody loves a love triangle. It's very salacious, and it sells.
People love to be able to pick between two options.
Yeah. They really do. And they love to be passionate.
Myself included.
Yeah. So then in May, Brad broke his silence on the breakup to GQ. He said, "We've done it our way, and I love her for that. We've kept the love we have for each other. It's talked about like it failed, I guess because it wasn't flawless. Me, I embrace the messiness of life. I find it so beautiful, actually. The idea that marriage has to be for all time, I don't understand." Like, shut up, Brad.
Okay.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I hate how he's, like, trying to make it seem like it's noble.
I know.
And I think if someone had just left me for another woman, and he's saying, I like to embrace the messiness of life, I would be so mad. Yeah.
Like, this is my masterpiece of life. Just
I know.
Being crazy.
Like, okay, write that in your diary. Don't tell the world that. If that's, like, what helps you sleep at night, sure. But, like, keep it to yourself.
Yeah, you like to embrace the messiness. What about your ex-wife?
Yeah, like, what about the people left behind? I don't know. Especially because, like, she actually, like, didn't want the divorce.
Yeah.
It was his idea.
What is the mess? It's like, it's other people. I don't know. It's just, it just seems disrespectful.
And also, like, him saying, like, the idea that marriage has to be for all of time, I don't understand that. Then, like, why did you get married? It does.
Yeah, then why did you?
Yeah, it does seem like to him, maybe that's why he was proposing left and right to people, because it didn't mean that much to him.
He's a charming guy. He is attractive, and he seems friendly and stuff, but he seems very weird.
Yeah. I don't know if I could be happy with him. I don't know if he would treat me right.
Probably not, Mel. Probably not.
Probably not. So then it's July, and Brad accompanied Angelina and her son Maddox on a trip to Ethiopia, where she adopted her oldest daughter, Zahara, which that is really intimate. Like, you're going with her to get a child, a new family member.
True.
Like, that's pretty serious.
Yeah.
And Brad and Angelina did a 60-page photo spread for W Magazine, obviously, like, in anticipation for Mr. and Mrs. Smith, where they are photographed as a 1960s couple with 5 kids. And the feature was titled Domestic Bliss, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt at Home. And I sent you photos from that.
Oh.
Which, bad
60
timing.
pages. Oh, yeah, I've seen this. They're very, very beautiful pictures, but yeah, that would be very upsetting.
It's so insensitive that they would do that. Yeah, like, it's in promotion for a movie, and, like, they're playing characters in the movie, but, like, if you're already heavily rumored with photographic evidence to have just left your wife for another woman, like, why are you...
another, like, playing house.
Yeah, that'd be devastating to see.
Oh my god.
And apparently the concept was Brad's idea, and he even retained the rights for the photo shoot and thus profited off of the magazine sales. So it's not like the photographer, like, pitched it.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah, no.
It was his idea.
That just shows, like, to me, like, a callousness to him and, like, lack of consideration. Like, I feel like if he really, like, loved and respected his friend Jen, he would maybe be a little bit more private about, like, not, like, being so in your face. But it also, like, plays into the rumor that, like, oh, he, you know, he's this, like, noble guy, like, just, like, looking to start a family, you know?
It does. Yeah, I mean, the cover is literally him and Angelina in the backyard with, like, 4 of their sons or fake sons, like, in the kiddie pool. It literally plays into that rumor.
Yeah. And I think that's the idea, but it's kind of obvious how manipulative that is.
It is. It is.
And, like, there's a lot of photos. Like, this must have been, like, multiple days of photo shoot.
Yeah.
Damn. So then it's September, and Jen is interviewed by Vanity Fair in an article titled The Unsinkable Jennifer Aniston. Her people are really working overtime, I think, to, like, make her the hero of this story. And they succeed. Like, people are more in love with Jennifer Aniston than ever before. And
she's America's sweetheart.
She really is. And the interviewer writes that at 36, Jen had originally expected to get pregnant this past year. She's asked about the rumors that their marriage ended because he wanted to start a family and she didn't. And she says, a man divorcing would never be accused of choosing career over a child. That really pissed me off. I've never in my life said I didn't want to have children. I did, and I do, and I will. The women that inspire me are the ones who have careers and children. Why would I want to limit myself? I've always wanted to have children, and I would never give up that experience for a career. I want to have it all. And that, like, makes me really sad, because I feel like the press after that was, like, very invasive regarding Jen's, like, fertility and whether she was going to have kids. And, like, every time she dated someone, it was like, will this finally be her baby daddy?
Yeah.
I think a part of that might be people projecting their own fears of, like, the possibility that, like, you might not get everything that you want in life. And, like, it is kind of sad that, like, she said she really wanted to have kids, and then through no fault of her own, like, was blindsided by the end of this marriage with this person who she thought she was going to have kids with. And, like, people can understand that fear of, like, oh, I invested so much time in this and then it didn't work out, and then something I really wanted might not come to fruition anymore. So, like, I feel like it comes from a place of empathy for people, but, like, it did cross the line.
It definitely did. I remember so many magazines, like, anytime she'd be on the beach or something, they would be like, she's pregnant, or I don't know, just over-analyzing how her stomach looks that day, and it was so invasive.
Yeah.
And that's quite annoying if it's because Brad's PR put out way back in the day that she didn't want to have kids. And
I know.
Yeah,
like the damage that they did with that, if that's true. But I think, like, I hate to say it, but, like, I feel like in a way it comes from a good place where people just, like, love Jennifer Aniston and, like, really wanted her to get everything that she wanted. But it's like,
I do think so.
It's invasive. And I think it also, like, a lot of people would interpret it as, oh, like, it's people saying that, like, women are, like, worthless unless they have children. I really don't think it. I know that that's oftentimes a part of it, like, but I think people just, like, wanted Jen to be happy, and, like, they saw that as, like, something that she, like, lost as a result of the end of this marriage. So
yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It really is like the aunt or uncle that, you know, does just want their niece to be happy, and, like, they do cross the line, but
yeah. It comes from, like, everybody, like, just, like, loves her and, like, wants her. But yeah, especially because later she revealed, like, she had fertility issues too, and, like, obviously it's like she was worried about this. Like, other people don't have to worry about it on her behalf. So
yeah.
It's
very private.
Yeah. I think, unfortunately, the fact that they had been so public, I don't think they realized that they would be, like, paying the price. And really, Jen would be paying the price for that so many years later. So Jen's close friends tells the reporter Leslie Bennett of this article that Brad could have done more to refute the rumors, but that they think he didn't because it made it seem as though he left her for a noble reason to leave her for Earth Mother Jolie, which is kind of funny.
Earth Mother.
Because she really is, like, she does seem like Mother Teresa, like, adopting these, like, orphans. And a friend says, when Brad and Jen were in the marriage, having a baby was not his priority ever. It was an abstract desire for him, whereas for Jen, it was much more immediate. So is there a part of Brad that's diabolical? Did he think, I need to get out of this marriage, but I want to come out smelling like a rose? So I'm going to let Jen be cast as the ultra-feminist, and I'm going to get cast as the poor husband who couldn't get a baby, and so I had to move on.
Oh my God.
Which I believe that, because, like, in that article before, she was the one talking about baby-proofing the apartment, or the house. And he was the one that was like, I think I want kids. Yeah, like, eventually I do want kids. Like, I'm ready for that next step. It seems fulfilling to, you know, teach kids what you know. But it was selfish. I feel like,
I don't know. I mean, obviously, I don't know them. I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the room when all this went down. But just from what I'm picking up, if I had to guess, I feel like it had nothing to do with kids whatsoever. I feel like he was just into Angelina Jolie, and he seems very restless, and he was just moving on to the next thing.
Exactly. And, like, the only reason kids are even brought up is because Angelina has 2 kids.
Yeah.
And it's very unfortunate that, like, they're even, like, wasting time on any other things. But, you know, when someone like, gets in trouble and they really do everything they can to, like, divert attention and, like, make it about something else.
Yep.
So in this article, it's revealed that it was Brad's idea to separate, and that Jen did not want to, and that she had suspicions that it was about Angelina, but that he denied it. And when the interviewer asks her about that, she says, "What we said was true as far as I knew. We wrote it together very consciously and felt very good about it. We exited the relationship as beautifully as we entered it," which again is like, I feel like she's always trying to, like, be positive. But the way she says what we said was true as I knew, I think, is her admitting that, like, he might have cheated on me. I don't know.
Yeah, that maybe at the time she didn't know everything.
Mm-hmm. She's then asked about the pictures of Brad and Angelina on the beach with Angelina's son, and about that being so soon after their breakup. And she says, "The world was shocked and I was shocked." And she describes the process of the breakup as a grieving journey, and that her friends make comments about how they're all amazed by her strength. And she says, I feel like I'm nesting. I love being home. I have friends that come over, my girlfriends I've had for 20 years. When things happen, the tribe gathers around and lifts you up. I've had lonely moments, sure, but I'm also enjoying being alone. There's no question it takes getting used to. I'm a partnership person, and if something happens, your instinct is to share it, but you're no longer part of a couple. I definitely miss that. It's sort of like Bambi, like you're trying to learn how to walk. You're a little awkward, you stumble a little bit. The things you would do with your partner, you don't do. It's uncharted territory. But I think it's good for me to be a solo person right now. You're forced to reconnect yourself and take it to another level. If you can find a way to see the glass half full, there are the moments when you learn the most. I've had to reintroduce myself to myself in a way that's different.
Oh, I think that's really well put.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you can tell, like, someone who says something so eloquent like that, like, they're journaling, they're, like, reading self-help books, like, they're, like, going to therapy, like, they're doing everything.
Yeah. She's obviously going through a lot to come to those realizations, but I think that it is true. It really is true. I feel like you do learn the most about yourself going through loss like that. So
yeah, I will say I'm pretty sure she wasn't, like, totally single. I think she was dating Vince Vaughn, who she started in a breakup with, but I don't think it was that serious of a relationship. And the fact she's saying all this, like, it really makes you wonder, like, were they just kind of, like, pretend dating, you know, so it looked like she was moving on, and I'm not sure.
Maybe.
So this is a very long article and very revealing. Like, it's I don't think stuff like this is really ever written nowadays, where, like, the biggest celebrity, you get, like, all these pieces of juice.
What is it?
Well, so she just, like, they talk like, the whole interview is basically about the divorce. And on the idea of being left for another woman, she says, I would be a robot if I said I didn't feel moments of anger, of hurt, of embarrassment. And she adds, I don't feel like a victim. I've worked with this therapist for a long time, and her major focus is that you get one day of being a victim, and that's it. Then we take responsibility for our own input. To live in a victim place is pointing a finger at someone else, as if you had no control. Relationships are two people. Everything is accountable. I kind of hate when people say stuff like that in terms of cheating, though, because it's like it's still never really your fault to get cheated on. I don't know.
It's not, but it can be helpful in a way to recognize, like, maybe I had low self-esteem or something, and I knew that he was kind of shifty, and I felt like I had to stay with him because he's Brad Pitt, and now I need to recognize that I don't need to be with somebody even if they are gorgeous because blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, or I'm better off without that person anyway.
Yeah. I think it is good to put some power back in your hands.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that.
And learn from it.
I do think that if you stay in that place of, like, woe is me, like, I was cheated on, like, it's gonna be hard to ever move on because you'll feel like you're owed something that you're not going to receive from somebody else. So and you cannot control anybody else, unfortunately.
It's true.
And she's asked if she believed that Brad didn't cheat, which, like, I feel like I said, nowadays, like, reporters, like, are not that, like, upfront.
I know.
And she said, I chose to believe my husband. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised by anything, but I would much rather choose to believe him. Sad.
That's hard.
I know. The interviewer brings up Brad's new bleach blonde hair, and Jen says, Billy Idol called, he wants his look back. So she's, like, looking, like, kind of flirty, I feel. And she's asked about the W magazine photo spread, and she says, I can also imagine Brad having absolutely no clue why people would be appalled by it. Brad is not mean-spirited. He would never intentionally try to rub something in my face. In hindsight, I can see him going, oh, I can see that was inconsiderate. But I know Brad would say, that's art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure he was,
figured.
like, obviously it wasn't mean-spirited, but, like, be a little bit smarter. Like, I feel like, honestly, I feel like the lack of intent is, like, worse.
I know.
Because it's like, you weren't thinking about that at all. I don't know.
Brad.
I know. She goes on to say that her idea of marriage is that it's not perfect, but when things get tough, it could be an amazing moment of deepening and enlightenment and connection. But then she lights a cigarette, which I didn't know she was a smoker, and adds, that's not Brad's view of it. We believe in different things, I guess. You can't force a relationship, even if it's your view of how you would like it to be conducted, which is very true.
So chill. Lights a cigarette.
I know.
Says that.
You know what? That's balls. Like, that's hot.
It is. So cool.
It's like kind of like she lights a cigarette and she's like, but say lovey.
Yeah. I love it.
You can't control people. And her same high school friend from before, Andrea, says he wanted to figure out who he was and what he wanted, but he seemed to want to do it without being married. She wanted him to figure out what he wanted and stay married. He didn't think he could do that, so at this point, she was like, okay, go figure it out.
What a good friend.
I
But
know.
what is leaving one person for another? How is that like even exploring yourself or learning about yourself?
I
Or,
know.
You know,
Yeah.
just going right into another relationship.
Yeah, that's not really exploring yourself. That's just exploring somebody else.
I feel like Brad has some issues.
I mean, I do think it's like, how do you explain that though? Like, it would be painful to hear like, I just fell in love with somebody else. Like, I don't know. It lessens the blow to say like, I'm exploring myself. I
know. People totally do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I have done it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way to make it like less painful for the person.
I don't mean I haven't left someone or for someone else or haven't cheated on someone. I just meant that you say things to make it sound better.
Oh, 100%. But like, a lot of that is oftentimes coming from a caring place because you don't want to hurt the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if the person loved you, it almost hurts more to like become a bad guy in their eyes, because it's like,
Yeah.
probably would be painful for Jen if she began to believe that this man she loved was like the type of person who would do something malicious or bad, you know?
Yeah.
So I can see why she's like still defending him. It's probably giving him a little bit too much mercy. Yeah, and so she reveals that she's still in contact with Brad's mother and that she hopes that her and Brad can be friends again someday. And that same month, she appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show, and she appeared very strong and insightful after the divorce, and that is my final clip.
We both believe that you call things into your life and that things happen as they should when you're ready for it to happen. What would be your big lesson from this whole
thing, besides wanting more publicity?
Yeah.
I just felt like I was not getting enough publicity. You know, I think there's probably so many reasons, but you know, the other day I was doing yoga and with my girlfriend, and we finished. We were sort of sitting there, just sort of stretching. And I looked over at her and I said, you know what? I have to say, I'm feeling a feeling I don't know if I've ever actually felt before. And that is that I don't want to be anywhere other than where I am right now, sitting across from you. And that means, you know, I'm not sitting somewhere dwelling on the past, or I'm not fretting or, obsessing about something in the future or something that was, it was a feeling of total peace. And I love that. And
how did you get there? Because you had to shed some tears. You had to have some moments where you thought, like, oh my God.
Me not shed a tear?
Yeah,
Come
please.
on.
Yeah.
So, although I did not burst into tears at the opening of that article, by the way, I'll just say that. But anyway.
So you shed some tears.
So I shed some tears, but meaning, it's sort of that the living in the moment, in the now, as they say, in all the self-help books. Because if I had $1 for every book that was sent my way, I could have probably paid for this studio. But
you would have needed $2.
$2 for every book.
Well, we had $2 for every book.
For every book.
Yeah. But yeah, you can read the books.
You can read them and you can sort of intellectualize it, but the truth is, and you sit there going, well, how do I do that? And you're frustrated, and then you get down on yourself because you're not there yet, and then you just realize one day it's happened. It's collected in your cellular memory, and then one day you're sitting there with your friend doing yoga, and you go, oh, I get it.
I'm okay.
I get it. It's
Did you feel, though, I'm wondering if it's not impossible when
I get drunk.
Okay,
this is not my fault.
Okay. I wonder if it's not impossible when you're in a relationship that's so high profile not to in some way lose yourself in that.
Yeah.
Did you lose yourself?
Yeah, sure. I mean, come on. It's sort of like, because it's so big and it's so much information, and it's almost like you're trying to kind of navigate through all of it, with the truth, through the bull, through the stuff that's mean, that's everything that you do. I don't know when it happens. You just kind of go, geez, where do I begin? And that stops. But it's not easy.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like that reminded me of like one of your breakups where you read The Power of Now and like gained such a enhanced sense of being present and like understanding what it means to be a peaceful person.
Yes, Oprah kind of, I mean, I had heard of Eckhart Tolle before, but Oprah kind of introduced really to me Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now and New Earth, and I love those books, and thank you, Oprah. And yeah, that was cool to hear that she was talking about
That's
that
why I hate when people shit on Oprah, because I'm like, she really like has inspired people.
She helps people. Oprah has genuinely helped me.
No, me
life.
too.
So
I feel like she's literally like gave me such a spiritual like enhanced spirituality and like sense of peace. I don't know.
Me too. I feel like Jen seemed a bit more chill, laid back in that interview. At some point, she still sounded a little bit like she was acting, but yeah, she seemed a little bit looser. So
a lot looser than there's like a mariachi band or something outside.
Cool. I can't hear it, but
a lot chiller than the Diane Sawyer interview. And it's like, but you can really tell that like she's really like done the work, as they say, like healing from this breakup. And it's kind of like the total opposite of what it seems Brad is, where he's again like restless and always chasing something, and like someone who's like that, they are not focused on being in the present moment and like appreciating what's right in front of them.
I mean, we don't know, but like she could have come out of this feeling much more at peace than him, even though she was the one that was broken up with.
Yeah, because like she was the one that actually had to like do the active healing. Like when someone like breaks up with someone and then jumps right into a relationship, they're actually not doing like all the reflecting and like self growth that the other person is doing. So like I feel like they actually get like less out of it in the long run.
Wow.
And I like that. Yeah, I like that she said all that though, because it's really inspiring. Because she's like, when am I gonna feel it? Like, when am I gonna feel better? And then she's like, and then you just do. For anyone who's like, you know, going through it, like it's like, just wait. You will like at one point feel better. it'll like sneak up on you.
Patience is the hardest thing. It's sometimes you just have to remember that word. Just be like patience.
Exactly.
It's so awful. Like time really is the only cure for things like that. And it's like, it sucks to hear that. It's so infuriating, but you just have to keep going.
Yeah, it's a journey.
I know.
And then in October, the divorce was finalized. It was pretty simple. Like, Jen got their $25 million home and kept a minor stake in their joint company, Plan B, their production company.
Oh,
yes. While Brad became the sole owner. Now he's the owner, and it was worth about $50 million at the time. And because they didn't sign a prenup, Jen technically was entitled to 50% of Brad's earnings because he still made more than her, according to the California state law. But she wasn't really interested in that, so I don't even think she like accepted it. She really just like wants peace with everybody, it seems.
She made
I feel like if you're that rich.
Weren't they making $1 million? Weren't they making $1 million an episode?
Yeah, she was fine. Like, he made more than her, but like barely.
Yeah.
She'll be okay. Like,
Very chill.
And I'm gonna leave off there, and then next episode we'll continue the timeline, and we'll take a little bit more of Angelina Jolie's perspective.
Wow.
And we'll still keep Jen, like, keep giving you updates on like where Jen and Brad stand through it. So if you're still interested in this couple, they'll continue in the next episode.
Should we do custody battle?
I think most people would pick Jennifer Aniston, I would say.
Yes, I would too.
Not to jump ahead, but it's so funny because like now, years later, like I feel like now that he's not with Angelina, people still like fantasize about Jen and Brad getting back together, but it's like,
yes, they do.
He's not the prize. Like, I don't know. I would not want to get with somebody years later after they left me for somebody else and had 6 kids. No, like, she's the prize. He doesn't get to win her in the end, I don't think.
That is still on the cover of magazines. It's crazy.
That would be honestly a bummer.
It's been like 20 years. You know? 20 years.
He does not deserve her.
Basically.
If I believe that if someone forces you to read The Power of Now or like any self-help books, like they don't get back together with you.
Thanks, Mel. It's a good book.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. You don't. I don't even think you have to go through a breakup to.
No, but I feel like you have to go through something to want to read that.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you're kind of like, okay, this is annoying. But yeah, if you're like at your wit's end, I recommend it. Well, this is very fun. I can't wait. I mean, it's very sad. Divorce is very sad, but I can't wait for part 2.
I'm excited too. Thanks, guys, for listening. And yep, part 2 when Brad Pitt met Angelina Jolie will be.
Wow.
I guess maybe we'll say when Angelina Jolie met Brad Pitt will be available on our Patreon.
We'll get back together then.
Bye.
Is your heart filled with pain? Shall I come back again? Tell